You can't just lob that one in as a coda.
I can.
Clearly you can, because you did, but also, fuck you. Hello, welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
Somehow, we are already moving into the climactic part of the season, and that means all hell is breaking loose. Especially in You Can't Be in a Romcom with Your Childhood Friends, episode 9, in which a fourth girl has hit the hapless schlub. Literally at least once in this episode.
Yeah, she has.
I think I owe AU an apology. I was quite hard on him at the start of the season, and honestly, no, he is really dealing with some bullshit from these girls.
Yup. Like I said, your misandry kicking up a little bit.
In my head, somehow, wires got crossed between him and Yamabuki. And
who does deserve most of the shit that he gets, but the series is dishing that out pretty readily, too.
Yes, now. Anyway, we are introduced to the fourth girl, finally. Her name is Haru. You could call her a butch. I think we need a slightly different term, and I'm sure
it's a tomboy.
Tomboy, yeah, tomboy works. But also, like, specifically, she is AU's bro, except a girl. And I mean that independently of the fact that when they were childhood friends, AU and all three of the other girls thought Haru was a boy. To the point that when they, went to the bathroom, AU would expect Haru to go with him rather than the girls. Didn't realise.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't want to get too much into it because we're kind of starting the arc. But she comes in and she sort of assumes that AU is already dating Shio and Akari and Rinako, yes. And then she starts spreading rumours about it all over school. I think not deliberately, she just starts yammering about it.
Yeah, she doesn't spread rumors, she just yaps about how she's jealous that he gets to hang out with a bunch of cuties. And people take it the wrong way.
Yes.
Because that makes for funny drama.
He goes to confront her about that, and, well, he falls over on top of her, and she comes onto him pretty hard. And typical rom-com shenanigans happen, because despite the title of this show, it is a rom-com. And she's even quicker to start talking about it in terms of a rom-com than anyone else. But then, after school, she challenges him to basketball, and he gets thrashed. And then she challenges him to another contest with a forfeit of he has to tell her how she feels about the other girls. And he says, okay, but only if we do that thing, which turns out to be a funny faces make the other person laugh contest. And despite now being high schoolers, they have clearly both been practicing their funny faces hard forever after doing this all through their childhoods. And the thing that enables AU to win is that Haru says something that shocks him so much that he drops back to his normal facial expression and she bursts out laughing. So he's won, so he doesn't have to tell her, but he tells her anyway.
Because he's weak to pressure.
He's weak to pressure. Also, this is his friend. And he trusts, she's his bro.
Yeah.
You gotta trust your bro.
Even if she
Girl
is
bros
going...
before girl hoes.
Even if she's going to be a problem in ways that he cannot foresee.
Yeah, he begs her not to meddle, and then we get a post-credit scene of her immediately starting to meddle.
Immediately after he thinks, I don't have to worry about Haru, right? And I'm just like, you're gonna have to worry about Haru in a different way than you expect, dumbass.
You're gonna have to worry about Haru in several ways, not least that she might steal all your girls. Because she's clearly into them as well, let's be real.
Well, we'll see. She put a lot of actual moves on AU, which is crazy.
She really did, yes. Anyway, speaking of Yuri, Shiboyugi playing death games to put food on the table, episode 8. So, I very quickly realised with this series that one of two things was going to happen. Either I was going to slide off it, bored by the pacing pretty quickly, or I would eventually become obsessed. And I bought the first book of the light novel after watching this episode, because I'm obsessed. It is, visually wild, stylistically wild. The world building is wild, even for a death game show. Death games are always stupid world building, but this one is really out there. And Eventually, I just had to buy the book to figure out how the books worked and see how different that is to the anime. It literally only arrived today as we're recording this, so I haven't really looked at it in any detail. I'll talk more about that next week, probably.
We can at least say that the adaptation is doing a lot of fascinating things with the order of events.
Yes. Like, they have inserted basically the entirety of book 2 into the middle of book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Which, I think I also talked about this when we were watching Emoza,
Mm.
where, like, they brought an arc from, like, volume 4 or something forward to right before the end of volume 1 so that they contextualize it with the time that they had guaranteed to get animated.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating, but also, it's really hard to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the main thing that people will know this director for is Days with My Stepsister is just really funny to me.
Anyway, they had to bring those arcs forward because they had to make it explicitly Yuri.
Mm-hmm.
And Toxic Yuri at that. Anyway, this episode opens... So the OP for this show is like a long shot of cars on a highway seen through a wire fence. It's very melancholy. And this time, Yuki was standing on the bridge looking through a hole in the fence, and all the cars were on fire that were on the highway, driving back and forth, as if they weren't on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild. I have no idea what it is in the book that's picking up on.
Yeah, same.
But the main thing that happens here is we get the start of the Candlewoods game, which has been referenced previously as, like, a particularly really bad game with the hint that Yuki was in it and had a bad time. And I can see why. It's a very big game with probably hundreds of participants. And unlike the other games we've seen, it is explicitly like a game where the girls have to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're divided into 2 teams, the bunnies and the stumps, which I think is a folklore reference that I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And the bunnies are all veterans, and the stumps are all rookies. And the stumps have to kill the bunnies, and the bunnies have to survive. And it's going to be 7 days, and, like, it doesn't seem like there's any other way out than surviving or getting 5 kills. This is Yuki's 9th game, apparently, according to the book. So she's somewhat experienced, but also she's not as experienced as we've seen her in some of the other games.
Mm-hmm.
And her teacher is here as one of the girls as well, like a really experienced veteran who's done 96 games?
She's trying to breach the, 99 game streak.
Yes.
And is up in the 90s at least, I believe.
Yeah, what we find out is that she is doing that because she thinks that 99 would be a new record for games survived.
Mm-hmm.
So presumably what's going to happen is she's going to die in this game and Yuki's going to take over her ambition, which you clocked that in the later games when Yuki has heterochromia, one of her eyes is like her teacher's eyes are in this.
Yeah, so Yuki in this game has 2 blue eyes, but in all other games that are later than this that we've seen her in, she has a gray eye on her right side, which is the color of her mentor's eyes.
Yes. There's a note in her character profile in the pre-material of the book that says, like, injuries and something about her eye. So all that's being set up. And we also get to see the Stumps group, these rookies. And most of them are, like, terrified rookies. They really seem very out of their depth. One of them, whose name is Moegi, is clearly in some sense ready for this. It's not clear whether she's actually a veteran or whether she's just like gone into this with her eyes more open about what it involves. But she immediately starts training the other stumps to kill in some pretty horrific ways. So having heard that Candlewoods was a game that went badly, it's very easy to see how this is going to have gone badly.
Yeah.
So that was bleak.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to our next show? Question mark?
Journal of the Witch, episode 9. Often we have a lot to say about this show. I think this time out maybe a bit less.
Mm-hmm.
This was, in some ways, a very focused episode. What we find out about Asa's musical activities is she's in band club, but the first years in band club generally aren't allowed to participate in the club's actual bands. They're now entering second year, so they can start to maybe get into some of those bands, but the competition's pretty fierce. And one of the things is that songwriters are given precedence, so Asa tries writing some lyrics, and she shows her lyrics to Makio, which is a sensible thing to do, because Makio's a writer and knows a way around words. And I truly cannot pass Makio's reaction. Like, she blushes quite intensely, and definitely Asa comes away with the impression that Makio doesn't think the lyrics are very good.
The reaction that I got, what I got from Makio's reaction was that it was very full of teen emotions.
Yes.
And the sort of thing that would become, a dark history that you are embarrassed about a decade down the line or a year down the line. And I think by the end of the episode, us is kind of like, yeah, this is a little embarrassing. But Makio does make the point that, like, you need to have those emotions while you're a teen, basically.
Yes. And also, Makio asks to keep the lyrics, and she says they give her strength, which I think is significant. She does give Asa a bunch of advice, some of it, like, good technical writing advice, but also she has an incredibly cool line, which is exactly my jam. She says, write with the intent to kill. And I'm a sucker for that shit.
Yeah, you have a giant glowing weak spot for it.
Tara, if you're listening to this, this is what I love about your writing.
I won't start any arguments about my writing here, but you know how I feel
I
about
don't
my
think you
writing.
write with the intent to kill. I think you write with a different intent that also pays off. Anyway, what's going on with this episode? It's easy to explain from the overview and then explain how it puts this across, but ultimately, the point here is Astra's having a bunch of conversations with all the people in her life, kind of trying to figure out what her deal is going to be, and, what she's going to do with her future and stuff. And she's coming up so empty. She really doesn't have any idea. At one point, she gets very frustrated and says to Makio, look, I've got dead parents and my aunt is a successful writer. How am I still so plain? Which, like, there's a thing, to me, this is indelibly associated with quote-unquote emo as a cultural moment, but it definitely has precedence. There is a thing in teen culture of tending to try to individualize through pain. This is the, like, nobody truly understands my pain kind of thing. And I understand why teens get like that, because, everybody feels pain, but this pain is happening to me, is a kind of revelation when it starts to hit in puberty. But it is also completely backwards. It is not the pains that individuate us. The pains are the things that we share. It's the things that uplift us that are distinctive.
And that's the sort of thing that you need to, if you're having a healthy, like, teenage era, you are going to learn that through having those individual pains.
Yes.
And learning to relate to others.
Yeah.
But, she's having kind of a disordered teenage era.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah, it's very much a perspective-forming kind of exercise. And Asa really is kind of on hard mode for this, because she is in a pain that very few teens have to deal with, of, like, losing both her parents.
And dealing with Makio.
And dealing with Makio. I mean, honestly, I think Makio is less of a source of pain than most parents are.
Yeah.
And especially than Asa's parents.
Yes, but also she is kind of a pain to deal with.
It's true.
I won't.
I know.
I'm glad you aren't denying.
I
love you.
I know when I am being nailed to a cross, and that is this show. Anyway, we do get one new character this episode. Kasamachi pushes Makio. Makio feels like she's in a slump, and Kasamachi pushes her to reach out to another writer to just kind of talk it over and see if they've got any suggestions, and she calls up this writer that she clearly knows. It's not clear how close they are, but this, I assume, guy is called Juno. Like, I would not be surprised to find out...
A friend of indeterminate gender.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to find out this person was non-binary, but my guess is male. And Juno comes around and does help Makio a bit with the slump, but also talks to Asa, tries to bond with Asa over them both being short, but Asa does not want to bond with anybody about the fact that she's short.
God.
She's still mad about how much Emery has, like, had a growth spurt.
Yeah.
But this show has played with time very fluidly all along, with, like, haunting and jumping between different time periods and stuff. And in this episode, it really goes wild with that. Because it very deliberately tells you that these conversations are happening over the course of a couple of months. And it steadily through the episode, the pace of the editing accelerates as it cuts between them until Asa is feeling very overwhelmed.
And also one of the conversations that gets cut between is from, like, 5 years ago, when Makio was having, like, a girls' night with her friends.
Right, yes, yeah, for New Year's. And one of her friends has had an epiphany and decided not to date ever again, and is then snuggling on the couch with Makio, and I think I know what is being hinted at there, if I'm honest. It's the best cuddle pile as well. They clearly had such a good cuddle pile that New Year.
Yep.
And it's so hard to know where that show's going to go from there. But it continues to be wonderful.
I was just looking at the voice actress for Juno. It is a whole lot of gender ambiguous characters.
Good.
And butches, you know.
Good.
It happens.
Yeah, I know. Shut up.
This is part of the nailing you to the cross.
Let's talk about another show.
No.
Let's move on.
Let's move on then.
Okay. There was a cute girl in the hero's party, so I tried confessing to her. Episode 8. Yoki wants to go on a date with Cecilia, but she's busy, so he takes a job to go and, help out in a port town that's having some trouble with piracy or something. He takes Happiness and Raven along, with the thought of playing matchmaker to a certain extent. But it turns out that the problem in the town is mermaids, who are demons, and Raven is revealed to have some pretty bigoted opinions about demons, which doesn't go over well with Happiness, who is a demon, but Raven doesn't know that. Except that it turns out that what's happened is that humans have captured a couple of mermaids and are coercing them into doing their bidding so that they can do piracy, basically. And Raven kind of softens on demons and accepts that people can be bad too, and some demons can be not so bad. And ultimately, Yoki's matchmaking kind of works, honestly.
Yep.
Because at the end, after Raven has kind of apologized to the mermaid for misjudging her, she gives him a kiss on the cheek. And then Happiness gets mad and jealous and throws Yoki across the room so that he can't see and goes and kisses Raven on the cheek. Which is the best. Fully here for it. And then we got an adorable, special ending sequence that was all retro, VN dating sim pixel art.
Yep.
It was really, really well done. The stylistic observation was really, really good. Very sweet episode. Loved it.
Yeah, very cute.
There were a lot of very sweet things in The Clear Moonlit Dusk, episode 8, but my god, does Yui have problems. I don't know what to say. This girl has agreed she's going to date this boy, and then she invites him to lunch in the old school building and drags her friends along and drags his friends along and sets out the seats like they're in some sort of committee meeting and brings out a dating contract that's we're going to always stay this far apart and not show anything at school, and we got to blah, 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 blah. And then she says that she can't walk home with him that day because she's got a chore shift after school. She gets done with that and leaves school, and he's waiting for her. And he tries to pretend that he's been in detention rather than admitting that he waited the whole time for her.
Yeah.
That's so good. When she's like, well, okay, what did you get detention for? And he goes that thing that I do. And they're walking home, and he's trying to do all the things that this damn contract says he's supposed to do about keeping distance and stuff. And she realizes that she really doesn't want to do any of the stuff in the contract.
Yeah.
She is genuinely nervous about word getting out at school because, she understands that Kohaku is very much in demand and there will be hostility towards her if he's known to be dating her. And all sorts of other things could happen, and she's got all sorts of sensitivities around her reputation and stuff. It's all fair enough. But she does manifest it in the most unhelpful ways.
Yeah.
And it's summer break. She's going to be very busy over summer break, but he's kind of trying to get her to agree to hang out with him. And she says, well, I've got these 2 days free. And he says, well, give them to me then, please. I want to go to my family's holiday villa with you in Kobe. And she's like, what? Are you mad? For a day trip? No, we'll stay the night, but we'll sleep in different rooms.
He doesn't go, no, it's not just a day trip. He just goes, we'll stay in separate rooms. I swear it'll be fine.
She's really reluctant until he starts listing Western confectionery that they're famous for in Kobe.
Yeah, my favorite part of this, I'm so glad I caught it, was they're sitting in the park talking about this. And there's a set of traffic lights behind them that are set on red. And then once he starts talking about the fucking candy and the confectionaries, it turns to green. And I'm just oh, you bastards, you did this
I am
so
once
well.
again being nailed to a cross. Anyway, she talks him into bringing all the friends, so it's not just going to be the two of them, which is probably for the best. Then a bug lands on her, and we learn that Yoi is scared of bugs, and he saves her from the bug, and she's very grateful and snuggles him, and he starts nibbling her ear because he cannot hold back with her at all. And it's a cute bug. I feel very sorry for the bug not being appreciated. And then because this episode wasn't lobbing enough bombs at us, we get the scene of OG finding out that Yoi is dating Kohaku and immediately trying to also secure a date with Yoi.
Yeah, he's really pushy because she hasn't been firm about, no, I'm dating someone. And he's, I guess, still got his hopes up for her.
Yes, which is, I think, also very, honestly teen. It's uncomfortable, and it's going to hang over the whole trip because he does get her to agree. Because what he says is, I need someone to help me pick a birthday present for my younger sister. And Yoi's like, yeah, I can help with that. And it's going to be just after they get back from the trip. So, eesh.
Yeah.
Anyway, some I'm going to try to get through really quickly. This week, you and I polar opposites episode 8. We could say a lot about this because we could say a lot about this every week, but I think we'll have more to say when a few things set up here have resolved, because we have the proper start of the Taira-Azuma relationship arc. There was a moment where Azuma was kind of on screen alone for the first time, and we were both immediately kind of cheering because we knew what it meant, because we've been looking forward to this poor girl getting her day in the sun.
Yep. She's kind of filling the role of the Yano relative to the main couple, where it's just this girl clearly has a lot more experience with dating, but there's not been any good times attached to it.
You said Yano, and I went to Yano-kun's Ordinary
Wrong
Days
one.
rather than Kimi Todoke Yano. Zeroed in now. Yeah, she has had a lot of dating experience. It's been bad. She's being hassled by an ex. And the key moment here is she's on the train home with Taira because they get the same train home. Because they were in middle school together, although they weren't good friends in middle school. And she starts telling him about all the ways that she actually has fallen out with the popular kids that he remembers her hanging out with. And eventually he gets really mad on her behalf because of how they've treated her. And is I don't think he literally says, have some self-respect to her. But that's kind of the sentiment, is he's going to build her back up.
Yeah.
Which is good because he also needs building back up. And the moment where Azuma turns that round on him is going to be amazing.
I'm not called out by this. It's fine.
I'm going to let that one lie, babe, for now at least.
I didn't yell anyone about this week. Don't fucking at me.
In Suzuki and Tani's life, Suzuki drags Tani to, a Purikura arcade. There are so many photo booths in that place. I'm quite prepared to accept that that's a real thing, but also, that's so many photo booths. And they get the most awkward set of photo booth photos ever. And then at the end of the episode, Suzuki's mom tells her that her dad and brother are going to be out at a baseball game that weekend, and she should bring Tani over so that mom can meet him. And it turns out that Suzuki's mom is just as highly strung as Suzuki. And then Suzuki and Tani are in Suzuki's room, feeling really awkward and clearly wanting some intimacy, but being scared to initiate and know what's going on. And then Suzuki's dad gets home because the game gets rained off. And he also meets Tani, and he is also as over the top as Suzuki. And there's a great moment where Tani's I feel like I understand you a bit better now I've met your parents.
Yeah.
Which, poor Suzuki. I'm glad she gets to be like that, because it seems like it's a fun way to be, but also I totally understand why she's mortified by it.
Yup.
In Roll Over and Die, episode 8, I really regret that these two things have ended up next to each other. Dane is merged with the flesh orb now that he found 2 weeks ago.
This is really just sandwiched between two fucking rom-com disaster bombs going off, huh?
Yeah, I don't think I did these notes in the right order, if I'm honest. But let's get through this quickly. So Dane is fused with the flesh orb, and that's causing various problems. The remains of his gang are still causing problems under a new leader. Flum and Milkit are getting gayer and gayer. There is a scene at the end of this episode where Milkit's finished her treatment for the disfigurement of her face that Eterna made for her, and Flum takes the bandages off Milkit's face. It's finally time for Milkit to just have her face visible. And they do this like kneeling in the bed that they share. And it is one of the most intimate things I have ever seen in an anime. Just genuinely, it's like, oh, that's really romantic. Holy shit. So I'm glad that there's some happiness in all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Because the, like, slave girl that they rescued, who is having a happy time learning to be a brat about the house with 4 lesbian moms to play with, is being sought after by an alarmingly posh lady who is as clearly evil-coded as any cartoon character could be. So that's not going to be great. And then, yes, Tune Into the Midnight Heart, episode 8, does give us another wild tonal swing, because this is a Nene episode, and she is being even more tsundere than usual at the start of the episode, because she's been hanging out with the theatre club to practice her acting, and the theatre club president really gets on her nerves. She's also not doing a great job of the acting that she's been doing, because she's supposed to be playing a girl who's been cheated on, and Yamabuki realizes that part of the problem is that she's never experienced being cheated on, so she doesn't know what it's like, so she doesn't know how to take it seriously and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And just as his scheme, when the problem was she didn't know what it was like to be in love, was to fake date her, his scheme this time is to fake NTR her with Iko. But Iko is just happy to be Buki's girlfriend.
Yeah. They don't have to lean into it much before she gets pretty attached. It's really good.
She really leans in. It's so good.
Physically, like.
Oh yeah, like, she's fully gonna kiss him, and he thinks they're going for a fake kiss, and they're fully not. It's beautiful. I really want him to end up with Iko. I think that's the best option here.
I'm going to give the other options time to ferment. Because, God, there's some ripe drama here. It's crazy.
Really
I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of quiet girls who are really into being with the person they're with, The Invisible Man and His Soon-to-Be Wife, episode 8. So they've agreed that they're going to start working towards living together, but then they got busy again. And Shizuka has spent the entire time that they've been busy and not really able to do anything together looking at houses to get together. And Tonome invites her to stay the night at his place.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this thing starting to ferment where it seems like maybe Tonome has had a serious partner before. Bunch of signs that maybe there's something like that that's happened. And that's starting to nag at Shizuka. She's also struggling with how perfect he is. Like, he's a really good boyfriend. And at one point in this, she yells at him for being a super darling, and he has to go and ask Kikira what that means, which Kikira is not thrilled about being asked.
Yeah.
I kind of want Tonome to ask Madaraito, so Madaraito can say, well, Kikira's a super darling. So Shizuka's worrying about whether she's going to become too reliant on Tonome's kindness. Tonome's having some very complicated feelings around trust and Shizuka, because invisible people have a bad rap because they're long-standing associations with like spying and sneaky stuff that invisible people have done in this culture and this economy for a while. And like, there's a really, I think, powerful moment where Shizuka is like, wait, why are invisible people untrustworthy? Because, you know, a lot of it is about the fact that you can't see their faces and you can't read their faces, but she can't see anyone's face or read anyone's face, except by touch. But like, it's clear that that's, again, it's that these two are kind of perfect for each other. So we're getting into the dramatic part of the relationship now, and presumably there will be some hard conversations ahead, but I think it's laying good groundwork for that. In The Villainess is Adored by the Prince of the Neighbouring Kingdom, episode 8, hey, Tiara and Aqua get married, and it goes fine.
Yay.
It does require Akari showing up. Obviously, she and Heart Knights, the original prince, are coming to the wedding, because you go to the wedding of the neighbouring kingdom's prince. But you know, Tiara is getting worried because she knows that Isilla is the protagonist of the second game, and therefore could be expected to have feelings for Aqua. And she's having tea with Isilla one evening, and Akari just shows up on the balcony outside. And then climbs in through the window and starts talking about the game and stuff, and it becomes very clear that Isilla is not an isekai, but partway through the wedding, she does realise that she has feelings for Aqua.
God.
And she's about to jump up and do the classic dating game thing of interrupting the wedding, but Akari is there to restrain her, and also Keith shows up as a surprise out of nowhere to also help prevent her disrupting the wedding. But the episode ends on a shot of the Sea Fairy Queen's palace, and the Sea Fairy Queen being pissed off and saying, "Love is worthless."
No.
And so I think that the Sea Fairy Queen might be the third isekai.
Oh boy.
Which would be really funny.
Yeah.
Very quickly, in Gnosia episode 19, the first episode of the epilogue/good ending arc, Yuri is learning that Setsu has been completely deleted from the history of their world. They're the only one who can remember them. Although Otome the dolphin does have a sore patch in her mouth from where Setsu fished her up one time.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently that really happened. But this is basically all about Yuri deciding they're going to go after Setsu and taking another silver key in order to do so. The absurd part is that the climactic moment of decision happens after Shaming has dragged Yuri to a strip club.
Yep.
Or I guess a hostess club. It's not a strip club, it's a hostess club.
There is some stripping going on, but yeah, it's a hostess club.
It's a racy hostess club.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaming has bullied Yuri into paying and stuff, and Yuri's just having a breakdown in the club.
Yep.
Poor kid.
I don't know how old Yuri is, but it's...
Poor kid.
They should be in the club, not breaking down. Oh my god.
Anyway, we are also still watching Reborn's Dragon's Egg, Holy Grail of Eris, Hana Kimi, Does It Count If You Lose Your Virginity to an Android, which quote-unquote finished this week, but also there's an extra secret super special episode.
Yeah, there's an OVA or whatever.
And the final episode this week didn't really resolve anything at all, so we're just going to wait. And Scrap Princess, which we're basically just waiting for the end of the series to do a wrap-up on, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of wrap-ups, we're finally in a position to talk about Kimi ni Todoke again.
Yep.
Which we realised we haven't talked about on the show for basically the entirety of seasons 2 and 3, so this is going to be a bit of a long one.
Yeah, we were short on time when we did want to talk about it, and then by the time we got back to it, it was like, oh, we should just wait until the end. And
yeah,
it's been 3 months now, so 4.
Yeah, and
it's been a bit.
One of the obstacles has been that the third season, the Netflix season that came out only fairly recently, aired in 5-hour-long chunks.
Yeah.
Rather than regular anime episode-sized episodes. And those are very, very dense.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but they're very dense.
Especially for the tone and pacing of this series in particular.
Yeah.
I understand why someone made the exact decision to do this, because it is you are only going to make so much progress in one episode, and if you want to get through this much of the story,
yeah,
having them laid out in miniature arc chunks like this does work, but it's also exhausting.
Yeah.
When we were watching anime, it was often a matter of do we have the energy to add on an extra hour to watch this?
So, by the end of the first season, Sawako and Kazuhaya haven't actually gotten together, but I think it kind of is clear to everyone involved that they like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the second season is, this is such a show about failure to communicate. It's not really a rom-com. It's a romantic drama that's sometimes very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a shoujo series.
Yeah. The failure to communicate is such a staple of all this stuff. And it does get maddening sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a truly incredible moment where each of them has said they liked the other, and Kazuhaya says, your like and my like are probably not the same. Meaning, I am in love with you, but I think you just like me. But because of that phrasing, Sawako hears, you're in love with me, but I only like you.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to another 6 episodes of them not getting together.
Yep.
We get introduced to a new character, Kento Miura, not to be confused, as I was for a little while, with Kentaro Miura from 13 Sentinels, who's a very different character. Kento is a handsome, popular boy with a fan club of girls who sees Sawako smiling and falls in love with her in the same way that Kazuhaya did. And also, he thinks that Sawako is pining for Kazuhaya and Kazuhaya isn't into her. And he fucks everything up for a while with that. He also antagonizes Kazuhaya a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate him and he makes me really, really angry, and I feel that is an injustice because really he is a golden retriever puppy who can't stop pissing on the floor. Right?
Yeah.
Like, he needs housebreaking, which I guess it's good that he ends up with Yano eventually because she will break him. Yano goes through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she's kind of a gyaru and she's the one who's had lots of previous boyfriends, there's an arc in this where, like, a boy asks her out and she decides to take him up on it, and she then later finds him expressing frustration to his mates about the fact that she hasn't put out yet, which she finds very upsetting. And the reason that she ends up with Kento is like, he comforts her from that. We also aren't finished with Kurumi, even after she was vanquished at the end of season 1.
She's not the demon lord. Come on now.
She's kind of a demon lord, right? If all Japanese high school stories have a little bit of horror in them, she is the horror monster of the first season. But she fucks up Valentine's Day for Sawako and Kazuhaya. Sawako's made chocolates for Kazuhaya, and she's made chocolates for everyone because she's lovely and she likes making stuff. And just as she's about to go and give Kazuhaya his chocolates, Kurumi intercepts her and gets in her head and makes her doubt herself and Kazuhaya. And so Kazuhaya ends up being the only one who doesn't get chocolates from her, which eats him alive.
Yeah.
He's very, very upset about this. Equally, she does redeem herself a bit by, like, at one point Kento is speaking to her and jokes about whether he might date Sawako, and she goes, "You're not good enough for Sawako."
Yep.
Pretty much in as many words. It's great.
There is a reason she becomes Sawako's bestie in college.
I want to read that. That is such a funny thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, when it gets out that Sawako and Kazuhaya have finally gotten together in season 3, like, his fan club are giving Sawako a bunch of shit, and Kurumi destroys them. Really, truly just verbally dismantles them, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We get Chizu and Ryu actually kind of eventually getting their shit together.
Ish.
Like, this is the actual rom-com of Kimi ni Todoke, is these two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's genuinely very sweet. I think a moment that is going to stick with me a long time. At one point, they're talking about college choices and stuff. And he's going to the same college that his big brother has gone to. And she says she's going to apply to that college as well. And he's like, "Oh, is that because Toru's there?" And she eventually cracks and says, "No, it's because I couldn't live with the idea of being at a different college to you and rooting against the college team that you'll be on when they come and play my college. I have to be there rooting for you." And I'm almost tearing up thinking, she's such a dork, and that's such a perfectly dorky way to have that sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Bless her.
She's calling you out in so many ways. And I love her for it.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Sawako and Kazuhaya actually managed to communicate that they both do like each other and they would like to go out at the climax of season 2. And season 3 is about them trying to be a couple, and neither of them is ready for it.
Yeah.
And a particular theme here is that Kazuhaya is really afraid of losing control. Like, in, I think, the second episode of season 3, they're alone together one night, I think on their school trip, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And he's, like, leaning in for a kiss, and it'll be the first time they've actually kissed. And they get interrupted, and he spends the next 3 episodes going, "Thank God we were interrupted, because if I'd kissed her, I don't know if I'd have been able to stop."
Mm-hmm.
And this fucks with Sawako really badly. Like, she spends a lot of that season feeling bad that he doesn't actually seem to want her or be comfortable around her, which is a fair enough thing to feel. You know, if she maybe said that to him, it would cut out a lot of the drama. But I was thinking about when this show came out and when the manga came out, and how it compares to other things we've watched from, like, a similar period.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is kind of older, right? The manga of this started in 2005, which is the year that Karekano ended, and also the year after Hanakimi ended. And, you know, we commented last time that the sexual assault scene in Hanakimi feels like a legacy of the kind of edginess that there is in Karekano as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wonder how much the choice to give Kazuhaya this fear of losing control is a bit of a reaction to that.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you think about this. Does that fear of losing control feel kind of true to life for you? Because I can definitely remember having that a bit myself when I was a teen. At times. I can think of times where I voiced similar concerns.
You're talking to someone who had a really not standard relationship for the one relationship I had before I was 29. So, I was not in a position where intimacy was on the table most of the time.
Yeah. Well, nor was I, but I still had the concern sometimes.
To be clear, I have had to be talked into intimacy a lot of the times, even as a teen. This was not an issue I had.
I mean, was it something that other kids you knew talked about at all?
I was a teen boy. We didn't talk about shit.
Fair enough.
I know I'm an outlier and I'm still, working on that, so.
Yeah. Fair enough. I wanted to ask, because I'm curious about it, and maybe people can tell us in the Discord if you have different opinions. Anyway, eventually they got together and it ended happily.
Mm-hmm.
And they did kiss.
Yeah.
And a thing I really like about the kiss is, they kissed, and then they pulled apart, and then they kissed again a few times, which felt much more grounded in what kissing is like. They're just like, oh, we have one kiss, and that's it. So it did end on a happy note, which is good, because I somehow have to construct a segue between that and episode 5 of Outbreak Company.
I'm committing crimes against my wife.
The syllabus at this school continues to be an absolute fucking crime, and it is having deeply deleterious effects on the pupils.
Mm-hmm.
The dwarven pupils have decided that dwarven women are naturally lolly and have formed a dwarven lolly fan club, and my soul aged 10 years in that 30-second bit. And you
something, now your soul is too old for them, so it's fine.
I am going to destroy you.
I'm sorry.
You thought I would be more bothered by the cat girl, dog girl, going into heat and having a go at Shinichi, and it's like, no, I was prepared for that. That was kind of obviously going to happen. I was less prepared for Petrarca getting mad about that and summoning Shinichi to court to practice being tsundere at him, which that was a good scene.
Mm-hmm. It was a good bit.
She is, of course, a natural.
I summoned you. Go away.
And also, Minori, Shinichi's military minder, has converted the prince to BL.
This is not a hard conversion. I've said this before. He has an ex that is a dude.
Okay.
He is already gay.
Fair enough. I mean, there's still an element of conversion to BL.
Mm-hmm. I won't dispute that.
He does also, Shinichi sees this and is horrified, and the prince does assure him that he would not ever, come onto a man who wasn't gay, which is fine, except that Shinichi believes that's a line from the BL manga that Minori has lent to the prince. So, God fucking knows with this show. Speaking of God fucking knows, babe.
I watched all of Gushing over Magical Girls due to an unaccountable urge that I had and access to the internet.
Unaccountable urge, huh?
No, I really came out of nowhere, I promise.
It did, actually, it did. But also phrasing in reference to gushing over magical girls.
Which is a truly inspired localization choice compared to looking up to magical girls. Anyway, this is a show about a magical girl otaku living in a world where magical girls exist, who gets recruited by the evil society that, wants to fight magical girls for world domination. She doesn't want to be recruited, but she is, and it turns out she's really into being a sadist.
Oh. Oh dear.
Yeah, this one is, it's getting a season 2. I'm gonna watch it.
So we're watching that, right?
Big maybe. It's equal parts I can't. So here's the thing. All things that, diverge from the genre they're parodying that hit outside of the audience for the thing being parodied, I can't be a really good judge of whether this is a decent parody / homage to magical girl things, because that's not my bag. And I'm not going to make a comment on that side of things. It is, however, really fucking stupid sex comedy and ecchi show that is pretty fucking good for what it is.
Yeah. Well, I've watched a Precure. Maybe I can comment on the magical girl side of things. That's the second time this episode that Tara has just gotten real fucking mad at us by remote. Hi, babe.
Enjoy. Yeah, I had fun with it, but also, like, I genuinely was just like, something in my brain broke, and I was just like, I should watch that. And then I did over the course of 2 days when I didn't have anything else going on. And it's fine. It's one of those things that'll probably get you canceled if you talk about it too much, but that hasn't stopped me before. Anyway, that's it.
So, Watching That Right is a project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.bsky.social, YouTube at youtube.com/@slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/@slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro, and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.